Hello. So today's trigger phrase is from the African American poet Audre Lorde. And the line is, if I didn't define myself for myself, I would be crunched into other people's fantasies for me and eaten alive. So here's what came out for me. Society does this to each of us, asking us to deliver on expectations, needs, conformity. Be the you I want you to be. Take your place, keep a pace. Freedom is tantamount into exploring without fear, facing yourself, fingers in the dark corners, wiping away layer upon layer of neglect. I hold the light. I choose to be free. I breathe to be me. Will other people live fully if they did not impose their image of me on me? They can. Will others feel free to be themselves if they choose to? They can. Will I be me, full of hope, confident, brave, creative, inspiring, smiling all the way without them? I can. I am.
I like the finality of the I am.
How about you?
Here's my
What came through?
wild mind.
Yes. Yes, yes.
I am munching on macadamia nuts as I try to respond to the quote above. There is this image of me being rolled into a mixture of ground graham crackers and condensed milk, and then a King Kong sized manifesting collective ego of humanity chewing into a gooey, masticated substance that would then disappear into the abyss of a gargantuan esophagus. So yes, this image has scared me into defining myself. But we go through life just being who the moment allows us to be. An open window there and a closed door here. A chance to be a circle, even if the mold being offered is a stiffened square. I do not really know when the definition of self happened, that articulation of who I was, who I am. Did it start with those autograph books we had as kids? Those dainty lined pages where your info page includes the question, what is your motto in life? And then that other question or phrase that says, define love. Well, I used to answer, love is a 4-letter word that can be eaten. Sorry, I'm so playful. I was being playful.
That was nice. That was nice. I like that. Because like you started with crunching macadamia nuts.
Because I was my favorite here, macadamia nuts in Himalayan salt.
Oh, nice.
I buy it from a shop near Piccadilly Square. It's the best. Yeah. So my last line had come, when we were kids. I don't know if you went through that. What did we call it? Autograph books?
Slam book?
No. And they were actually already like
prompts. There were prompts to it.
Yes, prompts, and you complete that and you give it your
I never got
and
into
they
it.
fill it up and then you keep it. Yeah.
Yes,
I think this love is a 4-letter word that can be eaten was my brother. I think that quote came from him actually. And I took it. I don't even know what it means. Anyway. And that came from the whole the trigger line we had. If I didn't define myself for myself, I would be crunched into other people's fantasies for me and eaten alive.
Yeah.
That's why I came to the eating part.
Yeah. Well, it's true, right? If you don't define your borders, if you don't tell people who you are,
you'll just be trampled upon and shaped by others, no?
Correct. And then that means that you lose your heart, you lose your spirit and your purpose, I think, in the world. I know that it wasn't easy for me growing. I always knew that I was an introvert, that my operating mode was always to be surrounded by books and just leave me alone. I remember Mama saying that for the summer, she would already have magazines or books there. And she would always tell me, don't be so greedy, because that means that I would finish all the books then. And then I would ask her, I'm bored now, right? Because it was like a whole summer. And then
you would
she
read
would have
everything.
nothing, to be entertained with, right? It's not like we had like places to go to. If we had places to go to, it was going to the province to tend to either like visiting a grandma,
Relatives.
or Mama had stuff to do with the land reform then in the
Right.
Philippines, right? So she
Yeah.
would leave us there.
You read a lot.
Yeah, because it was in the house, right? And then my uncles and both my parents were voracious readers.
That's
And even hearing Mama's stories about how she and my Lola and other aunts would really enjoy reading about the royal family. Or
really.
yeah, we would have books there. So at an early age, I knew who Jenny Churchill was. I knew who Winston Churchill was because it had books. You had books.
Wow.
I remember reading parts of it. As a kid, it introduces you to worlds
Yes.
beyond your own.
Yes.
And it also tells you about how other
Yes.
people's lives have
Correct.
unfolded. And so, what is the possibility for you now
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
kid? So, going back to what I had started about, I was an introvert, but I knew that I could also speak up. And I found that expression through theater. Again, like starting in grade school, I was involved in plays, and
Yeah.
that carried through all the way. And that's how we met in university, right? So, be in performance or creative spaces was really a way to put my identity out in the world.
Right. And define it.
Yeah.
So while you were talking also, I was thinking, what are the parallels?
Mm.
I also spent a lot of my childhood reading books, and that is summer was like that with us, yeah.
Yeah.
And the introvert part of me too, which I didn't think I was until
Oh,
I now
yeah.
go back. I also read everything, literally everything,
Yeah.
and then my parents were into those Reader's Digest. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
also all the series of books as part of the Reader's Digest products. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay.
Anyway, my mom and my dad would buy a lot of
Okay.
books for us kids to read, and I just read everything. Sometimes I run out of things to read, so I would even
You
read.
too?
I do. I would read even the literature of the medicine. The
What do
medicine
you mean?
bottles in the box.
The pamphlets that come
Yeah,
with
the
the
pamphlet. I read the pamphlet.
seriously. Oh my God, you're such a nerd. Really?
So yeah, I would read that because it was just running out of things to read.
Read.
That's already the part where you said this exposes you to a bigger world, to other people's
Yeah.
world, like you had with the books that your mom had in the house or your uncles had.
Yeah.
But I guess before that is the phase where your definition of self is
Mm.
how you were from a young age, right?
Yeah.
What you're shaped
Mm-hmm.
by the immediate experiences, whether it's family or school, and
Yeah.
then this next phase is kind of when you are able to read. At least you and I had, and then
Yeah.
moving onwards as we went to theater and university, then there's the more of um being able to then find ways to express your own identity plus whatever the causes we aligned with, and then theater became an expression of that, right? But
Yes.
within that we were able to find our own identities as individuals.
Yeah.
And I guess for you it became profound too because you had your own need to define yourself
Mm-hmm.
as different from what society had expected you to be in terms of the gender
Correct.
assignment and choice later on that you made.
Also, books provided a land of possibilities, right? So I remember the first book I ever read about somebody who was trans. I think I was in high school. There were two names that I sort of landed. One was Christine Jorgensen, and then the other one was a trans man who did a photo essay book. His first name is Lauren, and I forgot his last name, but it just gave me like, oh shit, there are other people. And this was
When
long
was
before.
this?
So the first one, Kristen Jorgensen, I think I came across her name when I was in high school.
Oh,
And
wow.
then
And you
Lauren,
were in an all-girls school, right?
yes, yeah. And
Oh,
even then, I didn't think of myself as trans, but those are the things that stuck to me. Like, oh, okay, there are other people who live differently from how society says that they should be. So that was for me a powerful thing because I remember it clearly, like the book that was created by Lauren. So he took pictures of himself in bodybuilding poses, and he was really buff, right? So it's like, holy shit, like somebody can make a very powerful choice
mm.
to live who they are in their head and in their heart and physicalize it.
And
And
how
then
many?
for
And this was still high school, the other book too, where you
so Lauren's book I found in UP. I was
the
in
university, yeah.
yeah, University of Indiliman. I was in the library then with the phys ed, but the first one was Kristen Jorgensen, and so she was a trans woman who was one of the first who had gender reassignment surgery, and she
Wow.
was around in the 50s. So that was kind
Who
of
was
like
a trans woman?
she was a trans woman, Christine
Oh,
Jorgensen,
wow.
and so I read about her when I was in high school.
It took you how many more years until you got
Oh
to
yeah,
Canada? And then I remember you then took on bodybuilding, didn't you? You got into
powerlifting. Yeah, I was powerlifting.
powerlifting
Yeah.
and you competed.
I did, and I want some hardware. So I did that when I was in CCP. I think it was my first. I
Okay.
was in my early
You were
years.
still in the Philippines. You started already.
Yeah,
You were
agricultural
already
center.
doing rowing at that time, right?
Yes, I was involved in
Rowing.
the dragon boat team.
And then you built that even more when you got to Canada. The
Yes.
the powerlifting.
No, not the powerlifting because I didn't find the right gym here. So what I continued here was the dragon boat. So the dragon boat
Oh.
rowing I did with a team, the Metropolitan Community Church of Toronto.
And then
I
the
think
martial arts.
the martial arts started in 2014 and I did it for about 4 years. So I learned arnis. And for me, it was a conscious effort to connect with the Filipino culture because I was living here in Canada.
Yeah.
We've always been exposed to the arts, but I've never been exposed to the martial arts history of the Philippines. So for me, it was a way to find out more about why that particular martial arts flourished in the Philippines, how it connects us to the Malaysians, to Indonesians, to Indians in the way that they had this similar stick fighting history, right? And to see it in the recent years being done in movies too, like using Kali
That's been
and Arnis as a fighting method in some of the Western
yeah.
movies now. So,
Yeah, I could see that.
so and it's good just in terms of like learning how to breathe, using your power and your breathing to be able to either defend yourself or get out of situations which are not healthy for you to be in.
Does it does it form part of that whole journey also in terms of crystallizing your identity choice? These
Mm.
going into these sports, or it was not a conscious thing, it was just went with the flow of it.
Of course, on hindsight now, it kind of seems like, oh, that's a conscious choice, right? So doing all these things that are very physical.
Mm,
Um, but in that moment, says
it didn't.
it didn't.
That's
No,
interesting. Because
I just
with
felt drawn to it.
yeah, because for us who were witnessing you from afar going
Yeah.
into these activities, it seemed almost like a part of asserting the
Oh, wow.
choice. But
Okay.
maybe that's why I'm asking, because maybe it's not, it's just how we perceive it. But
That's an interesting
I don't
insight.
know. So
Yeah.
that's why I ask. It's interesting.
Oh, wow. See, I think that's the beauty of having these conversations because you're seeing it you've witnessed it from time, and for you, these are how the dots connected. And for
Mm.
me, I
It
guess
wasn't
it
really that.
wasn't in
It
that
wasn't,
moment. It wasn't.
yeah, it wasn't the thing that was driving you. It was just,
No. But then maybe the things that we really do, the things that resonate well, that we're passionate about, really has a thread to them. Like
well,
for
yeah.
yourself, right? When you were young, when you were in the well of words and books, and you found
Mm,
comfort in that,
mm.
and in all the writing that you did, even the technical writing that you do for your clients, right? In a way, it is a creative act. There's
Well,
one thing that I read that said, being creative is not a talent. Being creative is an operating ability. And I said,
I like that.
wow, yes, it is true, right? Because creative does not only
That's
mean an
true.
expression in the arts, it's in
Yeah,
everything
we
that
use that
you
even in
do.
management, no
Oh,
leadership,
yeah.
creative solutions, creative
Yes.
ways of
Yeah.
leading, creative ways of making people participate, creative
Yes.
ways of thinking around strategies.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yeah.
bring over.
Yeah. And when I think back to the work that you did in Asia Pacific, in North America, there in Europe, right? So in the ways that you're able to design programs, right? And is it a single day? Is it a multi-day, or it crosses months, because it has to be a continuum of
Mm.
activities and projects to build out capability. And that, really taps heavily into creativity, because you're trying to get people to a future,
Mm.
helping shepherd them to a future, guiding what is possible. That's being creative.
Nice.
I like
Okay.
it.
This liminal writing session brought us to many places again.
Yeah. But always in the spirit of discovery and learning more about
But
ourselves in the world, and how the world is for us. Right?
yeah, but the takeaway would be chew on your own macadamia nuts and don't get crunched by other people's
Ideas of you.
fantasies.
Correct.
That's what it said.
Yeah. Yeah. Be
Okay.
out there and you be you.
Yeah, the world will always help shape who we are,
Hmm.
who we choose, but there's always that choice.
And I think that's powerful enough when you know that you own your agency. Cool.
Agency.
See you next time. Bye.